Hello, universe. Here we are again, right? You and I coming to the climax for the 9th time together. Unexpected, I gotta say, universe. I never would have given us a chance to even hit 100 recordings, let alone 9 full seasons of 53 recordings each. For the math reluctant among you, that's 477 episodes, as it were, of which the 477th one is now 44 seconds old. But I'm not here to brag about being the biggest shitter on the fucking in the restroom. I don't think that's the kind of bragging I ever will find myself wanting to do. Because really, what have you done with 477 mental masturbation sessions of conversation that are 98% strictly with yourself? What have you really done? Well, you've proven that you're crazy. I mean, that's really all you've done. And you've proven it over and over again in capacities that are glaringly obvious to anybody with framework to understand how much of a lunatic you are. Yeah, I figure that's probably all I've done. But I've had fun, you know? I mean, I don't know, is fun the right word? What I get from this is enriching, uplifting, maybe. I don't know if uplifting's fair. Enriching is fair. It is purposeful, even though I intentionally hit the record button with very little purpose. It is connective in a fractured, isolated existence on Earth. Connecting is something that, yeah, it's not connected. What am I talking about? I mean, I'm talking to myself about asinine concepts of whatever particular inanity has grabbed my attention for the day, and trying to convince you that somewhere deep down you don't love yourself enough. And in that eclectic mix of nothingness, well, I mean, other than that part about you loving yourself, that part's valid. That part's got some legs, so let's not dismiss that concept. But everything on this envelope, I mean, we have nothing further to add. Well, that might be the one good thing I wrote on there. I do have something further to add, though. If ever in my life I underestimated something drastically, it was the value gained from the execution of repeat process-oriented activities, like daily recordings, or daily diary entries, or daily exercise, or can't think of anything else I do daily, since I'm neither masturbating nor having sex nor really doing anything on the regular. I don't even have a job. I don't have like an AA meeting to go to. I don't have a church recital that I'm practicing for. I don't have kids in a play that I'm running lines with. I don't have anything going on. Seriously. To the point I have, counting my change, I have $19.32 on my dresser. And I need to come up with another $2.69, at which point I would have $22.01, which would be just enough to cover my water bill that's due on the 4th of April. And, I mean, I got a week to figure this out, right? It's not like being short $3 is going to follow me on my face, but I'm starting now to get back to where my $1,200 of cushion that I put in my utilities accounts in December is spent, or at least the water part's spent. The heat bill will be due, I'm guessing, in May. So I'm running out of time to be this free, to be the wandering philosopher that I've always aspired in life to have the freedom to exist as. I would 100% take the life of literally walking the planet, so long as my basic needs for food and shelter were taken care of. And I would be more than willing to pitch in on whatever level of physical activity would still make me a viable contributor to the processes of civilization. But I want to be able to roll into the next town, look at the job board where there's 6 to 8 hours worth of work to contribute, go do that, feel good about myself, meet some people, have a conversation, learn something about myself and the world, and then move on to the next location and do it all over again. A lot like the Hulk, if you just take all the getting angry green shit out of that. And I'm talking about the TV series from the 70s that starred a guy named Bill Bixby, who was playing a fictional character named Bill Banner. And Bill Banner? Banner? Is that what his name is? I don't know now. I think so. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. Because the episodes would always end with like this slow motion walking out of town scene and a whistle like, I can't whistle. But if I were to try to give myself like a one photo postcard of what my life feels like, it would be the heading out of town with the sign for whatever the next town is that's roughly, say, 18 miles away. And I'm going to just get my way there, whether it be by hitchhiking or walking or, frankly, skipping. Who knows? Doesn't matter how I get there. But I'm moving on to help somebody else so that then I can move on to help somebody else. And after that, I move on to help somebody else. And that's my whole life. Except now I have to pay my water bill. And then I'm going to have to pay another bill. And eventually I'm going to have to buy some food. So I don't know that I'm doing it right, because I feel like I should be either moving on here with my $19.32 and ungodly belief in karma working out for me, or I should be going to every single establishment within a 10-block radius. I don't care if it's radiant. At this point, I don't have that kind of expectation to levy. But if it's within a 10-block radius and they will hire me to do anywhere from 5 to 45 hours of work a week until I can't stand it and walk out with my finger in the air, well then, yeah, that's what I should be doing. And to be honest, I even know that part about quitting with my finger in the air is also true. Because if you go out looking for a stupid job and you give yourself 48 hours in which to find one, whatever job you actually stumble into is guaranteed to be the kind of job that's going to make me leave with my finger in the fucking air. And that, I guess, among many things, are the topics I'd like to consider in this, the final, the not penultimate, but the ultimate finale. This episode 53 of season 9 of It's All My Fault. Season 9 being labeled NëiNsensiCaL because, of course I did. I even used an umlaut over the E just to be fucking annoying to myself. Yeah, trust me. I'm looking forward to not being named NëiNsensiCaL anymore. But having endured my own stupidity as I'm prone to do, it's okay. I've learned in the process that those little decorative flourishes that can be so fun in an occasional text to a friend are not fun when you have to cut and paste it across multiple platforms and make sure that fucking umlaut E is the E that got cut and pasted in. So, lesson learned. Finally, 477 episodes into this, I now have something I've learned from doing it. That those quirky characters that are sitting there under the long hold keys, they're quirky and for texting. They are not quirky and for projects like this. Just like my titling has finally unhinged me almost completely. When I started out, I had a loose structure of trying to do review shows every 10 episodes to look back on the 10 before and correct all the errors I was making, which was necessary at the time and probably still is necessary, but I kind of gave up on it because it felt formulaic, and honestly it felt like I was doing too much rerouting back on myself. And if anything, this isn't a project about trying to fix what I just did. It's about moving forward with the kind of bluster that I don't give a fuck what I just did. I'm going to do something next that's going to be better or worse, and I'm going to do something after that that's also going to be better or worse, and we're just going to keep chugging along. And this isn't my way of living. I have lived most of my life spending too much time reviewing processes and possibilities without just full steam ahead. So having that overall tone in these recordings is important to me, and frankly is the point. This is fun. I'm not here to do anything serious in nature whatsoever, in spite of what I might sound like at times when I'm prescribing that all young women in their 20s should be going out and having as many babies as possible right now, at least in America. No, fucking around the world. And, you know, that's kind of annoying. You could shut the fuck up about that stuff. Okay, I agree. So I don't bring it up very often. But if you want to hear me tell things to the world in a prescriptive manner, well, you're going to hear something about every 10th episode, because that's all the energy I have for that kind of conversational tone. Instead, I like to tell myself all the things that I'm either doing well or completely fucking up right now. And then wrestle with all of the quandaries those disconnects create compared to the disconnects that the world is thrusting upon me like some jizz cum festival in a goddamn gay porno. Not that I've ever seen a gay porno, but I can imagine what a jizz cum festival and a gay porno would look like. And that's a lot what it's like to stand on the sidelines of American legislation right now. You just wish you had brought more rain jackets, or even a trash bag, for fuck's sake. Anything to keep the cum out of my hair. Right, ladies? Thank you. If any of my next 30-ish minutes of closing down season 9 go back into that territory, I will just go ahead and call it an episode. So sorry for the vulgar turn of manly discharge, but nah, I'm not going to talk about that. But let's talk about something else. Pause. Pause. I'm having a really hard time leaving the jism shit in here right now. I mean, I could just go back and make what is looking like about 14 minutes of time, more like 8, and then none of that ever happened. Right? Wouldn't that be the move that at least my agent would be giving me if I were a Hollywood star? Why'd you leave the fucking shit in there about getting rained on by cum? What are you doing? You just asking for career suicide? Or are you committing it in front of me just to make fun of me? You know, because agents, it's all about them. Yeah. I mean, I don't know any of this shit. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't even know a goddamn thing in the universe. Not one. I know nothing. I am so convinced that I am just a piece of clay that got molded into a form that thinks it's something that it isn't, and it just is waiting to be hammered down into another blob of nothingness so it can be recrafted into something else that it thinks it is, but it isn't. Yeah, actually, the more I'm letting that resonate, the more I really like that description of what life feels like in the last 12 years. Maybe even 15. Certainly not the first 35. First 35 is just, wow, there were 12 or 13 good years, and then there were the 22 other years where I just was willing to say, I don't give a Frito pie to people because they don't give a Frito pie to me. And then I would say, and I also don't give a fuck about anything else, including why we don't have reciprocal Frito pie rules and regulations around here. In fact, having never thought of that till right now, I guarantee you I didn't give a fuck about that 22 years ago. The only thing I gave a fuck about 22 years ago was not being discovered as a coward, as a phony, as a faker of realities that inevitably I knew I couldn't sustain. I was the ultimate charade-pulling, narcissistic coward. And rather than find some level of self-atonement and stand up with some level of posture I could proudly maintain in a world filled with chaotic influence, no, I allowed all of those weaknesses to just like ooze down into the cracks between the bricks, and just like the cleanup job at that point is so fucking annoying. It's, why didn't you just fucking get your shit together? Why did you have to fucking bottom out and then basically disintegrate into the bricks? What the fuck was that about? Yeah, I know. What the fuck was that about? I mean, if you were looking at your 18 to 19-year-old blue chip prospects for just making it as a white dude in America, I mean, I would have had a score of 96.78. I would have been as close to a lock to walk into some dental career or psychologist career or banking career with a wife who I cheated on, hopefully less than 10 times, and 3 kids, 2 of whom hated me. But I was hyperly aware at some point in my early 20s that what the world had set up for me was exactly that. A hamster wheel trap of sex with one woman and 20 years of waiting to go travel the world again. I don't know. I mean, none of this was I conscious of. None of this was I even thinking out loud or even inside my head alone. It just, as I realized what made me frantic and unsettled and prone to disruptive behaviors to create enough chaos to make a situation have to rectify in a new manner, in those runs of whimsy and complete self-annihilation, don't think whimsy was the dominant force. And collateral damage in all areas of my life. Well, it's as if you want to self-destruct, but you're not cool enough to do it. Or it's as if you want to be loved, but you're so filled with self-loathing, you don't know how to achieve it. Or it's like you're a seal, not the singer, but the animal in cold regions next to water. And you go for a quick dip in the local pool, only to be gulped down by a great white shark. Or something like that, right? I mean, what you tell yourself to get through the reality that you have in some way mismanaged yourself into having to accept? Well, that's the 9 cents that's here that needs to stop. And it's strictly your own fear, cowardice, reluctance, disregard, lack of faith in what the emergent conviction of you manifested as the real you can bring to the table for all of us. You especially, but for all of us as well. It's just the system itself is set up to not let it happen. And I don't know what that is. Is that mismanagement and just the wasting of the opportunity that humanity's civilization ascending could present? Are we just too concerned with our own Instagram account to give a shit that we could have the whole world humming simultaneously in harmony? Maybe. I mean, I'm certainly guilty of it. I don't deserve a single ounce of anything other than scorn, because never did I give a fuck about society. The broken, waiting to completely fall apart construct that is American life. Well, it drove me far enough sideways to think I wanted to kill myself. I never really took it too seriously except one time when I was sure I was going to do it. But obviously, given the circumstance that we're currently undergoing, me recording to you listening, and why are you listening? Seriously, why are you listening? Because you want to hear about my suicide attempt? I doubt it. Because I never really even had the courage to make that happen. No, I wasn't going to jump off a bridge. No, I was going to pathetically find myself in a situation to be discovered for the wounded animal that I was unwilling to admit I had become by a family member who did not need the burden nor deserve the burden of helping me out of that point. And so whenever I think about this run on planet Earth, I know that at least without the 3 characters that I started with, meaning I had 3 lives just like Pac-Man, because 2 of them certainly went so far askew that they didn't even count in terms of score, which is what leaves me now in a position to have to, with my last life chance here, somehow persevere all the way to the high score. And doing so finally feels like destiny. For all of my life, and I would say this might be my single biggest complaint, I just never had any motivation to do anything. I mean, that's not fair. I had daily motivations to go do shit, like, you know what we should do? We should go down to the river and like get some inner tubes and fucking float around on the water. That would be cool. Let's do that today. And then the next day I'd wake up and find another inspiration. But never did I think of myself as fulfilling any kind of role for society or career aspiration, or, well, except astronaut when I was a kid. And it's not like I was really good at baseball, so if only I had practiced harder and maybe taken those scouting camps more seriously, I could have had a career in a sport. No, fuck no. No, the only like walk into it career that I thought was out there for me would be like car salesman or whatever, some sort of sleazy sales position where I could just scheme my way through whatever it would take to get you to say yes. Those those were the sorts of moments of self-loathing that started to dominate who I was. When you start to think the only thing you're really born to excel at in the model of civilization you're currently experiencing is car salesman, well, that's self-loathing. That's just a line that you can't draw for yourself. And it's not that I was drawing this line with some sort of serious commitment in my head, but I was aware that I was taking an entire suite of tools and skills that were, at least in society's opinion, destined for success, and wasting them, playing Texas Hold'em in Seattle? I mean, yeah, mostly. Pause. Unpause. Well, to be fair, it was more like at the Muckleshoot Casino, which was down in, is that Muckleshoot? It might even be Muckleshoot, Washington, whatever. The Muckleshoot Casino and the Hideaway. That's where I was for about a decade. And then I got to the bigger casinos, and then I really realized how much money I could lose. Because I was winning playing poker, but nope, I was not winning playing craps and blackjack. Pause. Unpause. Okay. Actually, I did win. I had two very contained yet identifiable winning streaks that I knew I was on, that I knew were here to maintain, and that both got derailed, yes, by a woman. And I don't in any way insinuate that that's like what women do, is derail your lucky streak. Or do I insinuate that? I might insinuate that. I don't mean to, but let me clarify now that I don't think women are put here to do that. I think women are put here to do things like be awesome, but not be bad luck charms. So the fact that both of these winning streaks came to an abrupt halt as soon as I started speaking to a female are just coincidence. Or they're a twisted sense of karma that I have to go through so I can retributionally pay for whatever I did in past lives that set me up for this kind of a pie to the face. But it doesn't matter. That's all my cartoon universe anyway. That's just all the gambling stuff. That's my cartoon existence. That's me in a full embrace of my addiction. That's what gambling is. It's a lot like what crystal meth or heroin or cocaine would be. Two of those three I have tried. One I have not. So I really am not speaking about all three of those. But for two of them, yeah, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. The third one, well, like I said, I'm full of shit sometimes. But not often. And when I am full of shit, I usually tell you. So here's the one I didn't do. Heroin. Not that I wouldn't try it, but I probably wouldn't try it. But I've never seen it. Well, I have seen it once, actually. But I didn't know I'd seen it until like a month later. So that's how naive I am when it comes to heroin. It takes me a month to even notice that I was with it. But addiction and gambling are... see, I don't know about addiction. I don't think I've been addicted to anything except maybe weed. But if when I run out of weed here, I just never smoke marijuana again, then obviously I wasn't addicted to weed. And even if I go 6 months without it, I'm not addicted to weed. I just use weed as my main crutch for sustaining some level of sanity in this world gone nuts. And the world stops going nuts. You know what I'm going to stop doing? Smoking so much fucking weed. And probably expressing a lot more joy. But I don't expect the world to stop going nuts, at least not for a while. So as someone whose addictive qualities have all been tested, well, except heroin, I have faced down that compulsive side of myself and no longer have any of those energies in my soul. I mean, in this lifetime. And not that they can't reignite, of course they can. But because of how much gambling cost me, hundreds of thousands of dollars, well, I may not learn my lesson immediately, But you give me a couple $100,000 to fuck around with, and I'll learn a lesson in there sooner or later. Especially when I come home with $9 in my pocket. You'd be like, ah, I hope you learned a lesson. I did. I don't even want to tell you what one, but I learned one. And I don't even want to act as if those weren't devastating events. Losing all the money you've earned in life to a casino, I don't know, where does that fall on the dumbest shit you can do as a human list? Really, where does it fall? If that's a list of 9,483,217 things you can do, I mean, I'm in the 9,483,000 range. There might be 216 things that are dumber, but there might not. There might only be 6. Because nobody goes into the casino without the knowledge that it's tilted against you. It's not a question of will you lose? It's a question of how much will you lose? Now, when I say I had winning streaks, then what the fuck am I talking about? Yeah, what the fuck am I talking about? Actually, if you want to count online, I had a third one. But I also had a losing streak online that amounted to losing $29,000 in 22 minutes. And even while that was happening, as I'm sitting there just watching thousands of dollars leave my possession in electronic bit screen format, and this was all money I had won. This wasn't even like I'm losing money that I had somehow invested in tucking away and now just giving it away. No, this was money that was basically a windfall that then the wind blew away. And it only took 22 minutes to make $29,000 vanish. And I mean, I had lost 5 figures of the 10 to 15 variety more than once in similar fashion. So knowing what I was talking about when it came to gambling was never something I could have claimed, because I kept teaching myself that I don't have any fucking control whatsoever here other than to go find every nickel I can get my hand on and give it to these people. And whenever I feel like tranquility might not be the centering device whereby I am now leading a productive life, all I have to do is think about being at the craps table and having Dawn walk up to me and say, "Hey, why are you so lucky?" Boom. The next year of my life, easily one of the worst 12-month spans I endured. So, as finishing this NëiNsensiCaL chapter goes, it's not that I haven't gotten to this point in in the clumsy stunt car blew up, but I'm still okay fashion that I did. But I now see how if I hadn't seen what crossing my limits looked like, then I couldn't respect the fact that so much of what has let us down at this point in the worldwide sort of picture is how much other people cross their own limits and weren't able to pull back. And as someone who certainly could have pulled out a lot more often than I did, well, I'm just lucky I don't have a bunch of offspring running around thinking, "Who's my daddy? Why did he leave us?" Yeah. Pause. Unpause. All right. So if I were to talk for another 27 seconds, we would be 34 minutes and 34 seconds into a recording that I have a whole lot of stuff written down here to talk about. And I don't know if a single thing so far covered is on this list. Oh, yep. Right at the top. Gambling. So, as I wax on about gambling for another 6 seconds, so we can get to 34. Well, should we put our money on 34 on roulette? Yeah, this has got to be a sign. Pause. Pause. Roulette. Roulette's a funny thing. The very first time I ever gambled in a casino, it was with my sweetheart girlfriend of senior year of college. We drove down to Atlantic City together, got a romantic ocean view hotel room where we had bunny sex for 3 days. And when we weren't doing that, we were down in the casino playing roulette. Because for the first 2 days, holy shit, did we win a lot of money playing roulette. Like $2,600. And for a couple of college kids, that was some shit ton money. Until we gave it all back on day 3. All of it, plus 400 or 500. Literally. Like, if ever the world were trying to teach me that, you know what gambling's like? Yeah, it's like sex without a condom, except you have kids every time you do it. There's always a cost. It's never free. It's never in your favor. So it's not like sex without a condom. Because sex without a condom is sometimes in your favor. That's definitely true. Pause. Unpause. All right. So let's actually bring this community cooperative discussion men's group that women are also invited to. And if you bring children, we won't say no. We even love pets here, just no reptiles. Actually, you could bring a reptile. That'd be fine. Just bring one that doesn't have to live in a glass terrarium while you are with us. Actually, never mind. Do bring that kind. Don't bring the other kind. Bring that kind. The one that's in a glass terrarium. We don't want the other kind. Now I'm just thinking of what other kind of reptiles I could be bringing. Obviously, a Komodo dragon would be choice number 1. Well, unless you could get your hands on like a cloned Tyrannosaurus Rex. I mean, talk about the big boy coming to the meeting with you. Hey, man, we're just going to keep you in that glass terrarium because that way you won't frighten the other people. Thanks, T. All right, where the fuck am I going with all this? How about we go to the list? Well, actually, I don't have this written on the list, so let's try to see if I can get my arms around the problem we have with being told how to think. And a lot of what we're told how to think is just the paradigm in which we exist to have thoughts. It's not like you can think of a color you've never seen. That doesn't occur to you as possible since your imagination can only know the colors that exist. You can't make up a color. These 384, how many colors are in this 3D reality? It's something like that. We'll call it 400. These 400 colors that you are very adept at determining wavelength variance between. There are 400 colors among thousands that exist. I'm not kidding. And that simple piece of information is what always brings me back to the point of, right, this is limited. This is just an experience to go through the ringer and see what you come out like on the other side. Why would we want to put that in the full brilliance the universe offers? Fuck no. 400 colors is enough. How colorful can a landscape of that karmic retribution actually manifest as anyway? They'll be lucky if they can pull off green, red, and blue and still have a yellow sun. Yeah, that's true. We don't even have a yellow sun anymore. It's white. Because that's another thing that changed the Mandela effect. The actual trippiest part of the Mandela effect for me was when New Zealand moved. That's when I looked at the map and thought, well then, fuck the world, I'm going crazy. This isn't even the planet I was born on. South America had moved. The structure of Madagascar was different. The gap between Antarctica and Argentina, or Chile, whichever one it is down there, that's closed. The fact that New Zealand was the southernmost landmass in the Asian Pacific region? Again? What? 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 Go get me my globe. Why does my globe have the same? What? Or that movie Lions for Lambs that Tom Cruise and Meryl Streep did? That was based on the biblical allegory. that's now sheeps and wolves. And I'm not a Bible person. You know, I'm one of those people who thinks, okay, if that's the word of God, then it's the word of God. But if it's the word of a publishing agency, then that's the kind of thing that might get edited and redistributed in this updated version or edition for the 21st century, where we change some shit. Well, you know, Disney basically has the rights to all the lions because of fucking Lion King, so you can say what you want, but if we don't make that a wolf, well, we're paying royalties to the point that that book might never get published again. 21st century corporate Earth 8675309, you gotta take care of your finances. Mr. I got $19.32 on my disc. The fuck's wrong with you? Shh. You better find some level of financial security or I'll tell you where you're going to end up. Where would I end up? A greeter at Walmart, a homeless person in a ditch, or, living with the joyous embrace of humanity fully realized like the rest of you are doing because we all got our shit together and figured it out. Yeah, I know. Walmart greeter. Pause. Unpause. And you know what, though? I'm okay with that. I'm okay if that's how life eventually fizzles out for me. As I stumble trying to check someone's receipt at the door, crack my cranium on a stupid plastic cart that should have been parked somewhere else, and as I go down and feel the thud of the cement as my lower neck breaks, I think to myself, can I see your receipt, please? Pause. Unpause. Wow. I am seriously 50-50 that I should just hit stop and delete right now. 42 minutes of what? What have I done here? Except ruin season 9. Let's not in any way pretend that this thing's ending on a high note. You do not want to leave them wanting more of you. You want to leave them thinking, if I ever see you again, I swear to God, I'll kick your ass, I'll spit in your face, and then I'll turn around, walk away, realize I didn't do enough damage to you, come back, and kick you in the nuts. Are we clear? Yeah, we're clear. I'll go back to my list. Sorry, man. Well, oh yeah, there's this side too. Oh yeah. Okay, I got a good idea. Sorry, it took 43 minutes to actually look at the other side of the envelope. But I do have one good idea here that'll be worth going through. And I have a question before we get to that idea. And that is, as someone who has taken, let's see, August, September, October, November. Well, August, September, October, 3 days in July, 11 days in November. So call that 2 weeks. So I have worked exactly 3.5 months out of the last 14, which means, if you do your math well, that I've had 10.5 months to sit around and basically do this without having to even think about setting my alarm to get to work. And I just want to say that it sucks to be the rest of you. I mean, unless you're also not working, which then hopefully you're stable and able to buy enough tuna fish to survive like I am barely able to do. But if your needs are basically met and you're not working, well, then you're a wandering philosopher. That's all you are. That's what you are. That's the role you have stepped into. That is the process of life that you are now processing. It is the system of life you are now systematizing. It is the vision of life you are now envisioning. Wandering philosopher. The one I fully embrace with the largest hug I can possibly give an existence in this reality. Because nothing gets me going more than the excitement I feel when I wander and in my wandering somehow have a moment where I philosophize. It doesn't happen often. Matter of fact, I don't know if it's ever happened, but aspire to that plateau of greatness? I do. And what generally keeps me from ever achieving that high rank of soul existence? Well, it's a fucking job. Gotta go to work. I ain't got time to ascend a philosophical investigations of the most rewarding nature. No. I gotta go cut myself with a box knife and then pretend that that's worse than it is, and then try to see if they'll let me go home, and then realize they won't. So I'll sit in the break room for 2 hours and say, yeah, they won't let me go home though, you know. I mean, it hurts. I don't know. What am I supposed to do? What am I going to go out there and cut myself again? And then, you know, after that, probably take a break or go to lunch or just wander around for another 6 hours looking at my watch thinking, oh my God, when is it going to be 7 o'clock? Right? Or something like that. I mean, not all jobs are unfulfilling, but almost all of them are. Pause. Pause. And I mean here on 8675309 Earth, this is not the general gist of what work or effort or production is galactically or universally. It's just this dumb system of money that we have here. Money. Dumb. Money. Dumb. Money dumb. Money dumb. Dumb money. Dumb money. Unpause. But then if you don't let yourself be swamped by work, you won't have enough of that dumb money to pay these escalating interest rates that the banks keep hiking up because they can and don't even have to justify it. They just get to take your nutsack, put it in a vice, turn that vice until your nutsack basically disintegrates, and then they open the vice up and they say, well, why'd you have your nutsack in there? What were you doing? That's your fault, bro. Pause. And do you want to know how simple a thinker I was? And still am, because honestly, this thought still resonates for me. It's really never gotten its full exposure. And that thought is, remember we were coming home from something, because my sister and I are in the backseat of the Pontiac Le Mans. My mom's riding shotgun, my dad's driving, because this is the 70s or 80s, and that's just the way shit was. And so as I'm faking wearing a seatbelt, because I'm sure I don't want to have one on, but I'll just have it held over here so that I'm faking my mom out, I think to myself, okay, I'm going to start needing to get some money here, more than the allowance these two are giving me. So what am I going to do to make some cheddar? And as I'm having this thought, I'm thinking, what exactly is money and how does money work? Okay, from what I understand of it so far, it's I do something that you will agree to pay me for, and then once that's done, you pay me. So it seems to me like what money is that fluidity of transfer that allows work to be done. Because in the situation that we're in, there's always somebody getting something and somebody paying for it. That's the transfer of economic value. Or there's somebody saying, you know, I give you a little if you give me a little and we don't have to tell anybody about it. But that's a whole different system. That's called bartering, or called agreeing to have casual sex with your friends. But it's just a system that we aren't using because we're using money. And so my little brain's thinking, okay, well then, if I'm going to pay my sister $50 to do all the lawn mowing this summer so I don't have to ever do it, well then she's now got $50 and I am now down $50. But what I got for my investment was a summertime of no lawn mowing. So value gained, value recognized. My sister, for all her hard work, is now $50 richer. So what I didn't understand is, okay, so that means that everything in the system it's a closed loop system, because everything that's happening is some level of contractual agreement that for this money, this will go down, or this transfer of something will happen, and then it does. And the money changes hands. So when I asked my dad from the back seat, well, then what happens if somebody gets all the money? I mean, it's possible because they could do all the work and then nobody else has any money. How does that work? And I have to honestly say, at whatever age this was, call it 9, 10, 11, I had stumped my father for the first time in life. He didn't know the answer. And I don't think that at the time going to get that answer was actually rather doable, because I didn't get the answer until 15 years later, when I finally learned what our fiat currency economic charade game of debt and more debt really is. Because there's not a level of value being driven through the monetary system that allows fluidity of exchange in actions and the goods therein. No, because in that system, the shit that cost a nickel in 1913 would cost a nickel in 2024. But in a system flooded with representational agreements that these pieces of paper mean something, otherwise known as fiat currency, well, in those systems, what you have to do is you have to just keep flooding the system with dollar bills, yo. I could not have sounded less cool or more white in the way I just said dollar bills, yo. So now that you know I'm neither cool nor of any other ethnic variety than Irish white, there will be no misunderstanding that I choose this stance against our economic system. I choose to live with $19.32 on my dresser because I know money's not real. Money is nothing but controlling the effort that you are expected to provide between the years roughly of 20 and 70. And if we don't keep that effort carrot just far enough in front of you to never let you get so far ahead you can stop working, well, then we've done our job perfectly. Because really the only thing you're here to do is produce value for other people. The value that you can produce for yourself, aside from some of the lucky spikes of talent or right place, right time, well, there is no such thing. Who working right now that's not in some way manipulating the monetary system is getting ahead? Physicians? Brain surgeons? Are they? I doubt it. I bet every brain surgeon right now, currently breathing air in the United States of America, is thinking, I should be better off than this. I'm a fucking brain surgeon. Why am I having to worry about my goddamn third vacation home pool bill that now seems exorbitant at $97 a month? That bill was $13 a month when we bought the house 6 years ago. What the fuck? Yeah, brain surgeons even. And yeah, they could sell that third vacation home. But in their head, that's their fucking right. They're a brain surgeon. They're not a goddamn Wendy's shift manager. Otherwise, they'd only have 2 vacation homes. Right? I mean, Wendy's is the place to work these days, right? That's where all the money is. Oh, there's no place to work right now. There's no place where all the money... Oh, I mean, Google. Yeah, Google. You can sell your soul to the devil and go work at Google. You can sell your soul to the black market and go work at the CIA. You can sell your soul to the black market and go work at what? The Clinton Foundation? What's that thing they run? Their NGO scam? I can't even remember. I think it's the Clinton Foundation. Or you can see that this is nothing more than the show you were set up to play a role within, and understand that everything happening around you is strictly theater. And the acquisition of anything other than meaningful moments for your internal self is a waste of your time. Now, I don't have kids, so it's not like I don't realize that there are people out there that need to leave $1 million worth of equity and property for their kids, or they don't have a chance to survive in the 50 years that are coming. So, yeah, I can imagine that pressure's acute, severe even. In some cases, I'm sure quite devastating, given the opportunities that truly exist to provide children those types of securities. I mean, when the inflation finally turns into hyperinflation, it's the ultimate fuck you to the head down, did it the right way, never complained, just wanted to make sure that I was doing my part so that I could feel good about the fact that I was going to have my life in the simple form that it is, fulfill itself without major disruption. And then the people you depend on to give you systems that can offer that stability say, fuck you. We're going to just completely fuck with the money supply and turn your life into a complete shit show for no reason other than we can. So enjoy. Pause. Pause. All right. Yes, it's not just because they can. It's mostly because they've been fucking around and stealing all the goddamn equity. They've been playing so many games, and they've got so many numbers now that are stacked up against the system that if they don't implode it, well, I mean, what are we going to shoot them into space like that Superman movie? I mean, they're going to be that kind of a villain, so what are we going to do with them, literally? Are we going to put them into a glass mirror and then just have them float around the universe going, ah, until Superman 2 comes along? I mean, I don't have a better idea, so we could start there. Pause. Unpause. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do have a better idea. We forgive everybody. Everything. We just say, system reset. Let's be better. Let's not play so poorly this time. System reset. Everybody gets a new chance to be awesome. Don't be less. Be the real you that's awesome. System reset. Or the nukes. I mean, like I've said, if we collectively have decided, without inviting me to the table to vote, that the nukes are the way to go, well, I'm not going to say, I'm going to say, darn. I didn't want this to be the way. But if this is what you all chose, I'm okay with it. Pause. All right, well, we're certainly not going to have a finale of season 9, especially one called NëiNsensiCaL, without a bong rip. So let's get that going. And as I get that going, being that this is the final, or is that finale? Being that we are closing down season 9 officially in real time as I speak. Well, I thought, let's list some of my favorite finishes of all time. This clearly isn't going to make the list, but the things that make the list, the great finishes of life, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I might even have more than 9 here, but I definitely have 9 good ones. Pause. Return and roll. All right. For those of you who literally have had 59 minutes of waiting for something to come out of my mouth that justifies your commitment to this point, the stamina you have to have endured this much of me, 59 minutes of me. I mean, I don't know why you even got to that level of endurance. I certainly don't have endurance of 59 minutes for you. Maybe 5 minutes and 90 seconds, but 59 minutes? I mean, who do you think I am, Sting? No. Okay, instead of having 4-hour orgasms, what I will say are great finishes would be, well, I had to throw the best finishing movie in in my opinion, in my lifetime, and I haven't seen a lot of movies in the last decade, so I'm sure there's a better one. But when The Usual Suspects ending unfolded in the looking at the, what was that? The pegboard? I can't even remember who the detective was now, but that was the film that made everyone think, oh my fucking God, I have a brand new favorite actor, and that favorite actor is Kevin Spacey. We didn't all know at the time that he was molesting and raping boys, but once you saw Kaiser Sose stop stumbling down the sidewalk and get into the limo, I don't know. I just, that's the best ending. Best finish for a movie, for me, period. Best finish, period. Including all the porn I've watched, that is the best finish I've seen on film. Pause. Unpause. There is that one female orgasm. That redheaded woman just basically has, what, is that an earthquake she's experiencing for about 45 seconds? I will say, no, I won't say that. Pause. Unpause. Okay, so as films released by Hollywood go, that to me is a no-brainer. Best ending of all time. Now, TV series, well, there's a whole lot of hype around their last episodes. Even if they go 9 seasons and end up with 477 total episodes, well then, they want to finish with a bang, or bang the finish, or make that finish a banger, right? However your bang lexicon is currently being fluffed, I don't care. Because bang you, I will not. But bang this? Nope. I don't think you would bang Bob Newhart. Nope. I don't think you would. But the way the Newhart show finished was brilliant. And I'll bet it was Bob Newhart's idea. For him to wake up in a fever dream from his original series with Suzanne Plachette, well, best finishing TV show of all time for me. And no, I haven't seen Stranger Things or any of the fucking shit from this century. But if you haven't seen, I can't say Newhart's worth watching. But it ended better than any other TV show in my lifetime. Pause. Pause. So what was wrong with Newhart? Basically everything else. I mean, this is my brother Daryl, this is my other brother Daryl. Every fucking time. And they just wasted Tom Poston or whatever the dumb farmer dude was. And the wife character was mediocre. That is the one show that I can think of actually had a compulsive liar on the cat in the show. The maid for the hotel's boyfriend was a compulsive liar, and it was terrible. I mean, they just would have him lie about nonsense. It wasn't like he was forced to lie because he was a coward of the fucking cowardly kind. Nope, he wasn't. He was just pretending to be a compulsive liar by saying things like, I love watermelon. I'm going to eat all the watermelon I can possibly eat. Oh my God, why did I say that? I'm allergic to watermelon. I'll bet at the end of the series I'm going to be eating watermelon and having an allergic breakout because that's how dumb this show is. Pause. Pause. So, how did that show stay on for 7, 8, 9, 10 years? 6 at least? I don't know. I really don't. It wasn't that good. Maybe because they knew they were going to finish it that way? I mean, if you knew you had that ending ready to go, then whatever mediocrity the cast from Bosom Buddies that wasn't Tom Hanks is making on your show, well, you'll put up with it. I mean, his character was better than that compulsive liar guy. Pause. Pause. All right, should we go to another great finish of my life? What was the... let's not do that. Okay. Okay. I'll admit to the 2 Homer ones of all. The Broncos, when they beat Green Bay in the Super Bowl that had what they call John Elway's helicopter play, as he gave the extra effort to make a first down on a fourth down running scramble at the goal line. Well, I won't say that we knew we were going to win the game at that point, because as a Broncos fan who had gone through the menacing losses that it was to be a Broncos fan watching Super Bowls in the 70s and 80s, well, there's no fucking way you were going to pat yourself on the back before the goddamn gun had gone off. No way. We were a battered wife waiting for our husband to get home so we could be battered even more. We knew we were unworthy of NFL glory because we'd been to the finish line twice and wait, 5 times at that point? No, we were 0-3. Before we won our first Super Bowl, we lost 4. We'd lost 4. We went and lost to Dallas. We went and lost to Washington. We went and lost to the Giants, and we went and lost to San Francisco. And we might have went and lost again to one of those teams. We might have lost to somebody twice. I don't remember now. Wait, yeah, because no, I don't remember now. Whatever, doesn't matter. I do feel like John Elway lost 3 Super Bowls. Yeah, Craig Morton lost the 4th, and then the 5th one we won. So we were 1-4, then we were 2-4, then we were 2-5, now we're 3-5, because Peyton won 1 and lost 1. Those Peyton Super Bowls don't count. That's just money being spent by players who I don't give a shit about. But the Elway Super Bowl, I wept like a baby when it was over. It was by far the most cathartic sporting monkey off my back experience I could have. Winning a Super Bowl was the number one thing I wanted to see happen in life probably at that point. So the fact that it happened, well, of course I cried like a baby, probably for days. And that's probably why my girlfriend and I broke up. But, you know, if you didn't know I was a crybaby 2 or 3 months in, what were you hanging around for? It's not like I was hiding it. Okay, so yeah, that one, Bronco game, by far. There's no other football game that even comes close. That game. Even the next Super Bowl when we beat the shit out of Atlanta, that one wasn't even fun to watch. Because now I already knew that we were getting championship accolades we didn't deserve. Like, Atlanta fell apart in that game. We didn't trounce them because we were the greatest team of all time. The greatest team of all time actually didn't make the Super Bowl. The Minnesota Vikings that year would have beaten us. And we were good. We were really good. But the Vikings were better. We're lucky they went down to Atlanta. So, yeah, that's my football game. My baseball game, because I don't have a hockey game, and I certainly don't have a soccer game, a rugby game, or any other fencing games. But when the playing game against the Padres, where the Rockies went into extra innings, only to cough up 2 in the top of the 12th, I believe it was. So, bottom of the 12th, we're coming to bat, and we need 2 just to stay in the game. And I believe the score is 6-4. Yeah, I think it's 6-4. It's not 18 to 12 or one of those other Rockies games. At this point, the Rockies are playing actual baseball instead of whatever was here for the first 15 years. But so convinced is my father that this game isn't going to work that he leaves my house. My whole family's over watching it at my house. And this is the year that the Rockies made the ungodly run, winning 22 of the last 23 games or 21 of the last 22. I'm not sure which one. But they won over 20 and only lost 1. It was just the kind of streak that came from nowhere. They weren't a struggling team just trying to find some identity. They weren't that good. But they found something, especially in Gonzalez, Holiday, and Helton hitting 3-4-5. And Gonzalez was the firecracker. But Helton was doing his job, and Holiday was the MVP. And in fact, that night, as he closed out the deal, whether or not he touched home plate, I do not care, because the ump called him safe, and we won that game, getting 3 runs in the bottom of the 12th. I am certain that my father doesn't even give a shit that he left the house that night, because he just doesn't have the stomach for the disappointment when you've gotten that close. But if you're not willing to watch your team nut up and do what's necessary, even when it looks like you have very little chance of succeeding, those successes, the ones that come from believing in yourself to the point that you do overcome the obstacles, well, I mean, if that's not a fantastic finish worthy of a list, I don't know what is. Do you? What? Dr. Seuss, Cat in the Hat? Maybe Cat in the Hat comes back, but no, Cat in the Hat finished waiting for a sequel. I mean, what kind of finish was that? It's like, yeah, let's go get some water and do it all over again. I'm up for it. So then, what besides sports? Well, okay, maybe these are all. Are they all sports? No, they're not. Okay, I'll save the non-sports ones for the end. There's only two. Oh well, that's good. There's two. So let's go to the golf one, because watching it live was painful, especially as a golfer. And that's Jean Van de Velde losing the British Open to a man named, who won that thing? I'll think of it before we get off this recording. Shit, I don't know. I can even picture him. I just don't know his name. Oh well, doesn't matter. Van de Velde is the guy who came to the 18th hole with a 3-shot lead. No, sorry, came to the 18th hole with, 3-shot lead. 3-shot lead. 2-shot lead? 3-shot lead. Come on, John, do your math. His 3-shot lead on 18 meant that all he had to do was double bogey 18, and he was the British Open champion. Now, most of you have either seen the story or heard of it because it's the famous collapse of golf of all time. Well, that and Greg Norman. Sorry, Greg, but it's true. Oh, yeah, and Spieth. I mean, oh my God. Okay, and Dustin Johnson, that 3-putt. Oh, but Van de Velde's collapse took 30 minutes. That hole took forever. He got in the fucking water, for Christ's sake. And here's why it's my favorite finish in golf of all time. It's not that he lost that tournament to Laws, Laws, maybe. Check it out, could be. But he lost to some like local kid, which was a great story in itself. But two things about it stand out for me that make me think, okay, he might have had some Lara Logan in him. And that is, he made the fucking putt. After all the chaos that he created to get himself on the green in 6, he now has to make the putt just to go into the playoff of a tournament that he was 99.9% going to win when he was teeing it up on the 18th tee. He now has this putt to tie and force a playoff with 2 other players. And he made the putt. So the fact that he didn't win the playoff, to me, was obvious. Once he had done what he'd done on the 18th hole, his karma wasn't going to let him win the tournament. He had to lose. But he had to lose in a way that would let the entire world cathartically experience a full-scale collapse of the most personal kind. It was literally painful to watch. I remember just grabbing anything I could for balance as every next shot was worse than the one before. Until he made the putt. But what separates it all from just another tournament where some dude underperformed in the end, right, Greg Norman? Greg, to be fair, you didn't always underperform. Sometimes, like Larry Mize, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Greg. You deserve better. That the point here is when Van de Velde gets interviewed after it all, and everybody's ready to hear him basically just dissolve into a puddle of sorrow. He says, "Of course I'm okay with it. It's just golf. And in my youth, I have no idea how I received this message, though I know I watched his press conference after the whole fiasco. So I heard it. But I know there's no way I had even a sweat bead of wisdom enough to hear what he was saying. And that is, I just played the British Open playoff with 2 other world-class golfers. Hey, I didn't win, but that is an experience of a lifetime. It's just golf. He was right. He was absolutely right. And if anything, might have been put on this planet to have a moment of self-combustion with enough reach that it got into my universe for me to think, well, if I ever am a professional golfer, I know one thing. If I'm up 3 and it's the 18th hole, I'm going to just get out my fucking 7-iron. No fucking way am I hitting any club with my 7-iron. Because I watched John Vandeveld make the mistake of doing something else. Hit your 7-iron, you'll be down in double bogey. Well, the lesson that was truly there to be learned was all you need to do to appreciate every moment you go through in life is to recognize how joyful life is from within. It's just golf. Unpause. Fuck, man, I really want to end it with it's just golf. And no, I'm not going to do that stupid trick I did with SpaghettiOs. So I will move on to the rest of my list, hoping that there's some heft in here that justifies the fact that I just had the perfect ending of all time for the goddamn end of a season and I didn't use it. I'm a disappointment in myself right now. But I'll get past it. I'm already past it. I'm not even a disappointment. That was just me being dumb. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The next one's good. And it's sports. But let's just knock it out because if you're thinking of fantastic finishes, this has probably already crossed your mind. And that's the 92 Barcelona men's, I want to say the 800 meter. Yeah, it had to be because it was a longer race. It wasn't a 400 meter. The 800 meter sprint. And there is an athlete in the field named Derek Redmond, who is, I believe, either favored or the co-favorite to win the gold. So he's racing for everything on the line. He's an American, and he may have even won the 400. He's a talented sprinter of world-class athletic proportion. And as the race begins, and they get about through the first turn, and we'll say a third of the race has now transpired, well, Mr. Derek Redmond pulls up with a torn hamstring. Like, it's like watching a wide receiver doing a sprint fly route and just having to quit because their hamstring got pulled. Your leg quits. There's nothing you can do. You're injured. In the single biggest race of your life, running the race, because at that point you were masked up on steroids, if I had to guess, has now popped your hamstring. Oh, God. Why are runners always going through the fucking shit, right? The emotional stuff always seems to happen on the track and field. Sometimes on the ice skating rink, sometimes where the gymnasts are. But the track and field is where you go if you want the real drama. Because just shit happens, right, Mary Decker? Right, Mary Decker? Right, Mary Decker? I think at this point she knows she was wrong. I don't have to make a point of it. I believe the point has been made. Zolabud, you deserved so much better. As a matter of fact, you know who deserves an enormous apology from the entire country of America in 1984? Zolabud. So I was around. I'm one. I apologize, Zolabud. You deserve better. Now, back to Mr. Derek Redmond, who did not deserve better because he got the best that could possibly be gotten in a moment where your heart is literally crushed. Your dreams are literally fading away like the Wicked Witch in a puddle of water. Well, I don't know if it was like that, but I bet it was similar to that because you could see the anguish on his face. And then he got up with his one good leg and started hopping his way to the finish line. Because what else is an Olympic athlete going to do? They're going to fucking finish the race. Like that woman in the first marathon, the LA Olympics, coming in all dehydrated, barely able to stand. What a fucking finish, too. But that one's not as good as Mr. Redman, who, in tears of anguish and a body so broken it won't cooperate, gets help somehow from some dude in a sweatshirt, like comes out of the stands and just starts holding him up and helping him walk. I mean, thankfully security was in the 92 Barcelona Olympics astute enough to get there within like 4 or 5 seconds and say, "What are you doing, man? That's an athlete. Get away from him." To which the man must have turned around and said, "Fuck off. This is my son." Because that's who came out of the stands. His dad. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's one of the great finishes of an athletic event of all time. And when you're done with that, go watch that woman from Sweden, I think, or Switzerland or wherever, who raced in the LA Olympics in '84. Watch her finish. Because one thing you can say about fantastic finishes when it comes to sports is you see people giving you every fucking thing they have. There is no end to the amount of commitment and devotion an athlete realizing their dreams can show you. It's why we watch sports. Seeing those moments, well, they're almost the best thing you can get in your meat suit manifestation. To see somebody actually performing at their absolute best and at the limit of their possible achievements. What else do you want to be here for? Well, I know what you might want to be here for, and that would be to watch me play one and only one game of Pandemic. A game that, frankly, is built to make you hate board games. It's that tough. You will have epidemic card after epidemic card ruin all of your possible campaigns. And even then, how do you eradicate 4 fucking diseases? We got 1 eradicated? We're supposed to eradicate all 4 of those? Fuck you. No way. This game sucks. It's that hard. I've maybe beaten it 5 times. And I've probably played it. Well, I wouldn't say 1,000 is out of bounds. I wouldn't say 2,000 is out of bounds. I don't know. I have it on my iPad. So I've played it a lot. I've played it on the airplanes. I've played it waiting to get on the airplanes. I played it as I'm leaving the airplane. I played it waiting for my baggage because I just took an airplane. I mean, I have played the shit out of this game. Because to me, a game that's hard but beatable, well, I mean, yeah, I'm in. I'm in. I still play Pandemic. And I don't play it with other people. I play it on my iPad. And I occasionally will even throw the medic. No, it's not the medic. I don't know who she is. She's the something analyst. Systems analyst, maybe? Not the logistics dude. She's the systems analyst. And her only talent in the game is that whatever city she's in, plus all attached cities in her orbit, are free from the effects that happen when epidemics blast through the game and basically ruin your chance of ever winning. And because she kept being in exactly the city the epidemic cards were flipping, well, I just rolled through the game with the medic and cleared all the disease cubes and won it by far the easiest I've ever won it. And we're talking about a game I've won 5 times out of potentially 2,000 plays. I mean, it was so simple and elegant of a win that I've tried to recreate it at least 100 times. And having that character in your group is the greatest weakness of a team you can build, period. There are 6 characters. You get to play 3, 4, or 5 of them. That character should never be on your team. Because the pandemic cards have to exactly fall like they did that one game, or she's useless. She really is. Everybody else's skill is better. So if you want to beat pandemic, well, my recommendation is give up that want. That game is ridiculously hard to beat. Pause. Unpause, which is why that one elegant, simple, easy tic-tac-toe versus your little brother win stands out as a fantastic finish. Because try as I might, I could do recreations the rest of my life trying to find a way for that character to have that influence in a win. It'll never happen again. So, thank you, God, for giving me that one experience with pandemic that made me feel like we were going to maybe get going with each other. But nope. Nope, that is one game I will never feel like I am up to the challenge. I am always inferior and barely hanging on, hoping, oh, fuck. God damn it, I lost again. All right, one more time. But that might make you think of Jean Van de Velde, right? One more time. But what it should make you think of is Tran Nguyen. Now, I've told this story, and it might make me cry if I tell it right now, so I'm going to keep it short. But when I worked at the Wilderness School in college, that's what I did in the summers, we had an event for very challenged, troubled kids that was a 2-week-long learning stay. It might have actually been 18 days. It was the longest thing we did all summer. And you were taking kids from very urban and troubled environments and dropping them off in the middle of the Connecticut wilderness to rethink their lives. Or that was the idea. And the end of this 2-week whatever excursion was a marathon. And they all ran this 4.5-mile loop that ended with a hill climb up to our corral that was set up for a barbecue that we had some contact of theirs show up for, so that there was some support at the end of the program that they had accomplished something. And it would usually be their parent, but sometimes it was a grandma or even a teacher. I remember being there once. I mean, we wanted anyone that had a connection to the kid to actually be there to share a hamburger with them and pat them on the back for succeeding at this new way of looking at life. And these were some hard-ass kids. Like, this wasn't Hakuna Matata moments left and right at all. In fact, it was a threatening environment most of the time, meaning they were either fighting each other or wanting to fight you. But not this kid. And when they would roll in, there was always, 20 of them. And among the group, you'd see the 2 or 3 that were just not supposed to be there. They were not hard. They were dumb. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were just fucking morons. And most of them were. They were fucking dumb. They were the antelope that the lions were targeting, But none of them were dumber or less equipped for life than Tran Nguyen. This kid maybe weighed 90 pounds. He was 14. 14 was the youngest you could be in this program. He was a 14-year-old kid with 3 felonies over his head already. He had been tried as a fucking adult. And then 2 of those charges had been reversed. But he was already in full-time juvenile lockup and was not going to see anything but prison till he was 24. Because he had been in a car with a bunch of other people involved in some huge drug bust that went down. 14-year-old fucking kid. And he spoke almost no English. I mean, he understood English, but he couldn't speak it well. And he ends up in my group. And the only reason that I even end up as an instructor, what I did was I ran all the activities like rock climbing or canoeing or whatever. Like I'd be the guy that you would show up with, and I'd take you around for the 4 hours that day, and then back to your 2-week long counselor you go. But I was the activity guy. But one of our counselors got hurt. And since I was first in line, I got sent in on, I think it was day 3 or 4. It was early enough that they hadn't really gelled yet, but I was catching up the whole time because, again, the environments that these kids brought with them, including we took a gun away from one kid 1 year, but knives all the time, like, and drugs. How did they arrive with so many drugs? Doesn't matter. Once they'd spent 2 weeks in the wilderness, they were different people. There really was a cause and effect here that was valuable. But jumping into this thing on day 3, 4, all I was doing was trying to keep track who was the alpha dog, who was the one that was weak, and what could I do to protect my co-counselor Letty from getting murdered or raped. And these are the thoughts that I'm spending internally in my head as I lead the back of the group, which of course is Tran Nguyen. And because I will walk the slowest, so whatever pace the slowest walker in the group will go, I will be with them as Letty leads the charge for everybody going to the next campsite. So I spent a lot of time with this kid alone because he hates his life, obviously. He is among all alpha dogs compared to him. And the worst part of it all is he showed up for all of this with sandals. He didn't even have shoes that were covered. He showed up in flip-flops, if I remember right. But we had to find shoes for him. And because he was small, the smallest boots we had to give him were a woman's size 7 or 8. They were too big for him. They were simply flip-flop clown shoes on this kid who was the least needing of any kind of clown accoutrement in this group. So over the course of 8 days, I get to know him pretty well. And I feel I might not, my heart might not break for anybody more than poor Tran Nguyen at the age of 14. I'm 19 or 20 at this point in life, and I realize how unfair the whole thing has been to this kid. And as someone of extreme privilege and puffiness, this is a gritty realization for me. Like, I feel like this is the kind of thing that could maybe inspire me to apply to law school in a year or two, or at least do some homework next year so I don't get kicked out of college. But those aren't even the thoughts I'm having. The thoughts I'm having are, well, number one, how can we get more Band-Aids for all the blisters on his feet? And number two, do you understand anything I'm saying to you? Because your English is terrible. And so it's hard to know how much was really getting through because he was sharing very little except the stories he would tell about the trouble he was getting into. And everybody picked on him. I don't think he really got his ass kicked, but he certainly got threatened daily by everybody in some way that made him feel the least among them. So everything was against this kid. Every single thing, including he was wearing women's boots. But the one thing that we did manage, and I don't even realize, they had to go pick up, I think it was his grandparents. They were old. They might have been his parents, but they were old. And they brought these two people all the way up to Connecticut. They drove to New Jersey to get them. They brought him up to Connecticut. And so he doesn't know, I don't even think he knew that we were having a barbecue. He just knew that it was the last day, this was the last event, and he was going to go back to jail now. And the race was around this like trail in the woods, and it was meant to be more camp meatballs than it was, some sort of marathon at the end. At this point, as long as you were doing the hikes and the walking that we were doing just to get around 2 weeks worth of wilderness events, you should be in good enough shape to make it around this thing in about 45 minutes. And that's if you walk. But An hour is almost upon us. All of the contestants are up. All of the participants are up in the corral except Tran Nguyen. And it's been a while since even the last girl finished. Like, we don't know if we should start to go fucking find him. His parents are nervous because now all the other kids are having burgers and talking to their parole officer or whatever happens to have shown up for him. Who knows? But there's no Tran Nguyen. And I'm the one who knows that he's not, I'm the one like literally waiting for him to show up because I'm the only one that gave a shit about him. And so I'm the one who's like, okay, well, I think I should start running the trail and see if I can find him because maybe he got hurt. I mean, if he was in last place and he's hurt and he's got a broken leg out there. So as I'm deciding to leave this venue, I see and he had a yellow raincoat. That was the other thing about him. He brought a yellow raincoat and he wore it the whole time. I see the yellow raincoat coming through the trees. And I can see that he's clomping. He's not running. But I imagine his feet are blistered as fuck because he's been enduring foot pain the whole time. And when he breaks the tree line and he sees the hill, he just puts his head down like, fuck. And then at some point decides, all right, this is it. And starts walking up the hill at 1 mile an hour, 0.5 miles an hour. Like, this is like he's on his way to punishment until he gets about 8 feet from the actual fence where your head can just kind of see up above the hill to see enough of the corral to see who's there. And he sees his mom or grandma, and he literally runs out of his boots. He leaps into her arms from Michael Jordan free throw range and bursts into tears, as does she, as do I, as do 3 other people in the vicinity. I mean, it was just like, if ever there was a human being on the planet that deserved one good moment right now, it's that kid. So in what was just an incidental filling out a form in the student work center application, maybe this will work out for me this summer job thing. Well, the Great Hollow Wilderness School was 3 summers of some of the best experiences of my life. And none were better than watching that kid jump into his mom's arms. Now, I'm not sure life worked out for him in any way, but for one moment of true connection, well, I saw a human being get exactly the love they deserved. So that makes my list of fantastic finishes, unlike this episode. But since I haven't tooted my own horn yet enough, let's toot my horn. Because I played a lot of golf in my day, and trying to figure out the best finish for me is simple. There's only one round that stands out, and it's not my best round at all. It's a 73 that I shot at a course in New Hampshire when I did a 1-year stint as a student advisor / teacher of one class in Ringe, New Hampshire. Well, a golf course opened the spring, and I worked there from September to May. I think it was April that they opened, and I played the course about 4 weeks after it opened. Played it one time, shot 73, and held the course record until I left New Hampshire. Hell, I might still have it for all I know. Actually, I don't think the course exists anymore. I think it got turned into something. But I had the course record. I have the scorecard somewhere in my life. It's in a box somewhere. But I can't remember the name of the course now. It was like Pleasant Oaks or something stupid. But, and honestly, I played well, but I was disappointed because it was a day when I could have broken par, and par was 71 at this course. So, it wasn't even that impressive that I had scored a 73. But it was impressive enough that when I was asked by the starter what I came in on, and I told him 73, he's like, legit? I was like, always, what? It's golf. Why would you cheat? And he said, do you have your scorecard? I was like, yeah. And I hand it to him, and he signs it. He's like, come with me. And he opens his glass case where, what was the score? I think it was an 81. I mean, the course record was nothing. My 73 was, it might have been in the 70s, but I think it was an 81 or even an 80. But whatever the course record was, it was now mine. And I went back and checked 2 more times. And the day before I left New Hampshire was one of them. And it was still my card that was sitting there. So that, and I actually, no, I didn't. I bogeyed 17. I bogeyed 17 with a 3-putt. That was when I was choking, trying to break par. But that's something I've done a lot of in life. Choking while trying to break par, that could be my middle name. In fact, I think it is. No, it's Charles. But it could have been that. Okay, so then 2 more fantastic finishes and we're done here. And again, these are both about, no, the last one's not about me. Okay, so the fantastic finish that is me rescuing a shoe in Athens, Greece, that David Daves, dickhead motherfucking David Daves, has thrown across the boulevard onto a balcony out of our hotel room across the street on the 3rd floor. And it's Camille's shoe, who I have a very secretive but probably very obvious to Camille crush on. Well, being drunk and 16, I decide I think I could climb that building. I mean, it doesn't look like anybody's there. I'll bet I could climb the outside of that building and get up to that 3rd balcony. I'll bet, in fact, I know I could. I can see my route up, no problem. I'm going to go get Camille's shoe. Which, to quite a bit of applause and fanfare from a whole 4 or 5 rooms full of high school students egging me on, well, to reach that balcony, pick up that shoe and hold it up like some sort of championship trophy felt fucking great. I'll admit it. And I was wasted. So it really felt great. I don't even know if I'd have made it all the way up there if I hadn't been drunk, because by the time I was on that balcony, I was good fucking 35 feet in the air. I mean, I'd gotten up there. The question now was, fuck, I gotta get down. Shit. That's not going to be nearly as easy. In fact, I'm surprised I made it down without falling. There were 2 times my feet gave that if my hands hadn't had perfect holds, I was down. Because the route down was ridiculous, because I never thought about it on the way up. I just was trying to get to the balcony. I didn't realize that I was going to have to drop myself 4 feet and land on that top of that piece of plywood if I was going to take the same route back. So I ended up dropping, I think the last 9 or 10 feet in the air and rolled my ankle, which didn't feel good. But drunk, didn't fucking matter really. And I got cheered on the whole time. So when you save the girl's shoe from across the balcony from the hotel room that it got thrown out of because David Daves is a dick, and then you come up with it and you get a kiss on the cheek, well, that was our last night in Europe. And while I might have wanted more than a kiss on the cheek from Camille, I got more than a kiss on the cheek from Sarah instead. Pause. Pause. We're so far into this now that no one's listening, which is too bad, because the final finish that I've saved for now is maybe the greatest finish I've ever seen in life. I remember seeing this. This was back when YouTube. Hello, YouTube, by the way. Hope everything in your general life of ascendancy is going well, and that your censorship is lightening up, because otherwise I won't be here for more than another week. But this isn't the kind of thing that gets you kicked off YouTube. In fact, this might be my favorite YouTube moment of all. It would have, what would beat it? I don't know. I'll think about that. But you know how YouTube used to be when you'd go in those rabbit holes and you'd just run into a video that would blow you away? For whatever reason. Didn't matter. Could be a cat video. Probably not, but it could be. Well, the one that outdid them all for me was a capsized boat off the coast of South Africa that happened to kill, I think there were 11 people on board that died, but one guy lived underwater for 60 hours before being rescued. He was 30 meters in the depth of the ocean. He was the kind of find that is captured on a GoPro camera, because all the divers are doing are looking for bodies. They're not looking to rescue anything. They're looking to save remains for those who are now heartbroken that they've lost a loved one. And what do you know? Here's the cook alive underwater 60 hours after the boat went down. If that's not the greatest finish of all time, well, what is?